She thought escaping Nicholas was survival, but facing Evelyn is war. In a city where betrayal hides behind every shadow, can Maya Sterling expose the truth before it swallows her whole? Maya Sterling had always believed that family, despite its flaws, was a thread that never fully unraveled. She was 32, a designer with a growing career, a woman who carried herself with grace even when life threw storms her way. But nothing prepared her for the storm she faced the morning she woke up to a flurry of tagged photos from her cousin's wedding rehearsal dinner. There was Lena Hartwell, her cousin and childhood shadow, glowing in a dress of ivory lace. Around her, the Sterling family smiled, lifted champagne glasses, and posed as though their world was perfectly complete. Maya scrolled through picture after picture, her chest tightening as a sharp truth sank in. She wasn't there. Not by accident. She had never received the invitation. At first, Maya thought it had to be some oversight, a mistake that would soon be clarified. Her mother, Elaine, had been busy helping Lena plan every detail, from the venue to the floral arrangements. Surely someone had forgotten to forward her an email, or perhaps the postal service had lost her invitation. But then her phone buzzed with a message from Caleb, her brother. Maya, don't overthink this. It's Lena's day. She didn't want drama. Drama. The word stung, piercing deeper than any blade. Was that what her family thought of her? A problem? A disturbance? A shadow better left out of sight? Maya sat frozen in her small but carefully curated apartment, staring at the images of her family laughing without her. A part of her wanted to call, to demand an explanation. But another part of her, the part that had been silenced at every family dinner, the part that had always been told she was too sensitive, whispered that she already knew the truth. They hadn't forgotten her. They had chosen to erase her. The laughter in those photographs felt like a betrayal carved in stone, a message that screamed louder than words. You don't belong. Maya closed her laptop, her hands trembling. The walls of her apartment felt suddenly smaller, as though even her own space had turned into a cage. Her eyes burned, but she refused to let the tears fall. She had promised herself long ago that no one, not even her own blood, would see her broken. Still, the weight of isolation pressed down on her chest. As night fell, the city outside buzzed with the hum of life, but inside, Maya sat in silence. For the first time, she wondered if her family had always been waiting for this moment, to finally cut her out, to rewrite their story without her in it. And deep down, she feared it was only the beginning. The next morning, Maya forced herself out of bed, though her body felt heavy with the weight of unanswered questions. She stared at her phone, debating whether to call her mother. Logic told her to let it go, but her heart burned with a need to hear her mother say it was all a mistake. When Elaine Sterling finally picked up, her voice was sharp, already laced with irritation. Maya, why are you calling so early? You know we're busy with the wedding. Maya hesitated, her throat tightening. I saw the photos from last night. I wasn't invited. Why? There was a pause. A long, telling pause. Then Elaine's voice softened, but not with warmth, with calculation. Oh, sweetheart, don't be dramatic. Lena and I thought it would be better if you didn't come to every event. You've been distant, haven't you? We didn't want any awkwardness. Distant? The word hit like a slap. Maya's chest burned with confusion. She had been reaching out for months, sending texts that went unanswered, offering to help with wedding details, only to be brushed off. Mom, that's not true. I've tried. I wanted to be part of this. Another pause. Then Elaine sighed, the way she always did when she wanted Maya to feel small. Maya, this is Lena's special time. She deserves to shine. Sometimes you don't realize how you come across. People think you make everything about yourself. The words carved into Maya's heart like ice. Her mother wasn't just excusing the exclusion. She was rewriting the story, turning Maya into the villain. When the call ended, Maya sat in stunned silence. Her phone buzzed almost immediately with a message from Lena herself. Maya, I hope you're not upset. It's just, You have a way of making things complicated. We didn't want negativity around this week. I still love you, but please respect my wishes. Maya's hands shook as she read the message. Negativity? Complicated? This was the cousin she'd grown up with, shared secrets and summers with. And now Lena had painted her as a threat to her own happiness. By evening, Caleb called, his voice laced with frustration. Maya, can't you just let this go? Lena doesn't need your drama. Stop making this about you. There it was again. Drama. The word echoed like a curse. As the hours stretched into the night, Maya scrolled through social media again. Each new picture from the wedding festivities was a dagger. Her parents beaming in photos, Caleb raising a toast, Lena laughing in her gown. Their world was perfectly intact. Perfectly whole. Except for the shadow they had carved out her. Her family hadn't just excluded her. They had created a narrative where she was the problem, where her absence was not only intentional but deserved. And worst of all, people were beginning to believe it. The following day, Maya tried to distract herself with work. She had a major presentation to finalize for a potential client, one that could expand her design studio's reach. But no matter how many times she tried to focus on fabric swatches and mood boards, her mind wandered back to Lena's message and her mother's voice dripping with quiet condemnation. When her phone buzzed again, she almost didn't look. But the notification made her stomach clench. Tessa Monroe, her closest friend since college, had sent a screenshot of a social media post. Some people just can't let others have their moment. Sad when family turns toxic. The post wasn't directly tagged, but the comments left little doubt. Someone had replied, "Is this about Maya Sterling?" She was reportedly involved in a drama with her cousin Lena. Always the jealous one. Maya's pulse spiked. She scrolled further. More comments. People she vaguely knew, old family acquaintances, mutual friends, were chiming in. She's always been like that. Attention seeker. No surprise. Poor Lena, dealing with her nonsense during her wedding. Her chest constricted as though iron bands had wrapped around her ribs. This wasn't just whispers in her family's dining room anymore. This was public. Out in the open. A version of her that wasn't true, but one people were eager to believe. The phone rang. It was Tessa. Maya, are you okay?
I'm so sorry.
I thought you should see it before it spreads further. Maya pressed her hand to her forehead. They've turned me into the villain, Tess. And people believe it. They believe them. Her friend's voice was calm but fierce. Listen to me. You are not what they say you are. They're twisting this to make themselves look better. That's what people like that do. But you can't let their lies define you. Maya wanted to believe her, but the seed of doubt gnawed at her. Would clients see those posts? Would colleagues start whispering too? The thought of her professional credibility unraveling because of her family's smear campaign made her feel sick. Later that evening, as she prepared for her client call, she received another message, this time from a former classmate she hadn't spoken to in years. Hey Maya, I don't know what's going on with your cousin, but people are talking. Maybe just lay low until it blows over. Lie low. As if hiding would solve this. As if silence would erase the damage. Maya's reflection in the window stared back at her, tired, wounded, yet burning with a quiet rage. For years, she had accepted being overlooked, being silenced, being told she was too much. But this was different. This wasn't just exclusion. This was character assassination. And something inside her shifted. If her family thought they could erase her, rewrite her, and silence her, then they had underestimated the strength she had left. The client meeting was supposed to be routine. Maya had prepared every detail, from fabric samples to a sleek presentation showcasing her designs. But as she waited on the video call, she noticed something different in the client's tone. "Thank you for joining us, Ms. Sterling," said Adrian Cole, the representative of a high-profile event company she had been eager to collaborate with. His voice was polite, but his eyes flickered with something else, hesitation. Maya launched into her presentation, her words smooth and practiced. She highlighted her portfolio, the unique angles of her design philosophy, and the personal touches that made her work distinct. Normally, clients lit up at her enthusiasm. But today, the energy fell off. Adrian exchanged glances with another associate on the call. When she finished, there was an awkward pause before he cleared his throat. "Your work is impressive," he began slowly. "But I hope you don't mind me asking. There have been some circulating comments about your professionalism, about, difficult behavior." Maya froze. Her heart sank like a stone in her chest. "Comments," she repeated, her voice tight. Adrian gave a careful smile, the kind that revealed nothing but concealed everything. "It may be nothing, of course. But in our line of work, reputation matters. We just wanted to be sure." Her mouth went dry. It was happening. The whispers weren't confined to social media gossip. They had bled into her career, into the one space she had worked tirelessly to protect. "I assure you," Maya said firmly, though her pulse raced, "I take my work very seriously. I don't bring personal drama into professional settings. Ever." The associate nodded, but the hesitation remained. The meeting ended with polite words and promises to be in touch, but Maya knew the damage was done. She closed her laptop and sat still, her breathing shallow. Anger simmered beneath her fear. She could picture Lena, her mother, her brother, all smiling for the cameras while behind the scenes they whispered poison into ears that mattered. And now the poison was spreading. Her phone buzzed with a message from Tessa. "Don't let them break you.
You're stronger than this."
But Maya wasn't sure. Strength felt like a distant memory, slipping through her grasp as everything she'd built began to crumble. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay in the dark, the city lights flickering beyond her window. For the first time, she wondered if this was their plan all along, not just to exclude her, but to ruin her. And if so, how far were they willing to go? By the next morning, Maya felt hollow. The damage had spread faster than she could contain, like ink seeping into every corner of her life. Emails from potential clients suddenly went unanswered. A collaboration she had been nurturing for weeks quietly dissolved, with no explanation given. The silence was worse than the whispers. She wandered into her studio, the walls lined with sketches and fabric swatches that once brought her joy. Now they mocked her, reminders of a future slipping through her fingers. Her phone buzzed again. This time, she almost ignored it. But the name flashing across the screen stopped her in her tracks. Adrian Cole, the same man who had looked at her with hesitation during the meeting. The same one who had voiced the ugly rumors. Maya hesitated before answering. "Hello. Maya Sterling?" His voice was calm, professional, but there was an undercurrent she hadn't noticed before. "Yes," she replied warily. "I wanted to apologize," Adrian said, "for how our meeting went. It wasn't fair to bring up gossip in a professional setting. I should have handled that differently."
Her brows knit.
"You don't owe me an apology. My family does." There was a pause, then a chuckle, dry, but not unkind. "Families can be complicated. Trust me, I know." Something in his tone made her pause. Unlike the others, he didn't sound judgmental. He sounded like someone who understood. "I wanted to say," he continued, "that I looked deeper into your portfolio last night. And, honestly, your work speaks for itself. The talent's undeniable. I'd like to meet again, privately this time, away from the noise." Maya's heart lifted, just slightly. She didn't know if it was a genuine interest in her work or something else. But in that moment, it didn't matter. It was the first time in days that someone had seen her, not the twisted version of her family's making, but her. "All right," she said softly. "Let's meet." When the call ended, Maya sat in the quiet of her studio, her mind spinning. She didn't trust easily, not anymore. But Adrian's voice lingered, steady and clear. For the first time since the betrayal began, she felt the faintest flicker of hope. But deep down, a new fear took root. If Adrian could see through the lies, what else might he uncover? The cafe was tucked into a quiet street corner, far from the glittering venues Lena favored for her pre-wedding spectacles. Its charm was understated: exposed brick walls, warm amber lights, and the smell of roasted coffee beans heavy in the air. Maya arrived early, her nerves coiled tight. She'd chosen a simple navy dress, professional yet soft, hoping it would disguise the exhaustion etched into her features. For the first time in days, she had made an effort, small but deliberate. When Adrian Cole walked in, she noticed immediately that he didn't belong to the chaos of her family's world. Tall, with a quiet confidence about him, he carried himself like someone who didn't need to demand attention. He already had it. His sharp gray suit was softened by the easy warmth in his eyes. "Maya," he greeted, offering a hand. "Thank you for meeting me." She shook it, her grip steady despite the unease fluttering beneath her skin. "I wasn't sure if this was a business meeting or something else." A small smile tugged at his lips. "Let's call it both. Business first. I wasn't exaggerating when I said your work impressed me. I think your designs would be perfect for an upcoming event my company is handling. It's high profile, but not the kind where gossip outweighs talent." Her breath caught. "Are you serious?" Adrian nodded. "Completely. And off the record, I don't believe half of what I heard. People are too eager to feed on drama. I care about results, not rumors." For the first time in weeks, Maya felt validation, not from her family, not from strangers online, but from someone who had nothing to gain by lying. "Thank you," she said quietly. "You don't know what that means to me." He leaned back, studying her. "I think I do. You've been under fire. That kind of betrayal leaves marks." Her eyes flickered to his, surprised. There was something in his tone, like he wasn't speaking theoretically. Like he knew. "You sound like you've been there," she murmured. His expression shifted, shadows crossing his face before he masked it with a faint smile. "Let's just say I understand family politics more than I'd like." Silence lingered between them, charged but not uncomfortable. Maya sipped her coffee, her heartbeat slowing into something steadier. For the first time since Lena's exclusion, she didn't feel entirely alone. When they finally stood to leave, Adrian looked at her directly. "I'll be in touch about the project. But, Maya, don't let them convince you you're less than you are. People who fear your light will always try to dim it." His words lingered long after he walked away. But as Maya stepped out into the cool evening air, her phone buzzed again. Another notification. Another post. This time, the lie wasn't just about her attitude or jealousy. It was uglier, more personal, and far more dangerous. The notification came from a private group chat that Lena had created for family and close friends. Maya wasn't part of it. She never had been, but screenshots had a way of finding her. This time, they came from an old childhood friend who couldn't watch in silence anymore. The message was short but brutal. "We all know Maya has always struggled. She's unstable. Honestly, it's better she's not around for the wedding. Who knows what she might do if she feels ignored." Maya's blood ran cold as she read it. Unstable. The word echoed in her mind, twisting around her memories of every time she'd been dismissed as too emotional, every time her family had branded her sensitivity as weakness. It wasn't just exclusion now. It was character assassination on a deeper level, painting her as dangerous, unbalanced, unsafe. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a call from Tessa. "Maya, I'm so sorry," her friend said the moment she answered. "I didn't want to show you, but you needed to know. They're not stopping. They're making it personal now." Maya sank onto her sofa, her hands trembling. "Why, Tess? Why are they doing this?" "I stayed quiet. I didn't fight back. Isn't that what they wanted?" "Because," Tessa said firmly, "people like Lena only feel powerful if someone else is crushed beneath them. And your mother, your brother, they're enabling it. You're the scapegoat. That's what this is." Maya's chest tightened. She thought of the client meeting, of Adrian's careful questions, of the hesitation she'd seen in his eyes. What if he had read this version of her? What if this was the image people believed, that she was a liability, not an asset? Her thoughts spiraled until the sound of her doorbell jolted her back to the present. She wasn't expecting anyone. When she opened the door, she found Adrian standing there, a folder in his hand and a look of quiet determination on his face. "Adrian," she whispered, startled. "I was in the neighborhood," he said simply. Then, noticing her pale face, his expression softened. "Something's wrong." Maya hesitated, then stepped aside, letting him in. She wasn't sure why, but in that moment, she needed someone who wasn't part of the lies, someone who could see her for who she truly was. She handed him her phone, showing him the screenshot. He read it, his jaw tightening. When he looked up, his gaze was steady. This isn't just petty family drama anymore. They're attacking your character. If this spreads further, it won't just hurt your career. It could follow you everywhere. Her throat tightened. What am I supposed to do? Adrian's voice was calm but firm. You don't hide. You fight back. And you don't do it alone. For the first time, Maya saw not just a potential ally, but someone willing to stand beside her in the storm. But a question gnawed at the back of her mind. Why was he so willing to help? The city skyline glittered against the night as Maya Sterling's cab glided through traffic. She leaned her head against the window, staring at the blur of neon lights. Her thoughts, however, weren't on the passing streets. They were tangled in the memory of Julian Cross's words. You deserve someone who believes in you. It was a simple sentence, but it struck her harder than Nicholas Drake's months of calculated manipulation ever had. It made her wonder, had she spent so long proving herself to a man who thrived on breaking her down that she'd forgotten what it felt like to be truly seen? When the cab pulled up outside her apartment, she lingered a moment before stepping out. Inside, the quiet walls of her place felt suffocating. She poured herself a glass of wine and sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. There it was, an unread message from Nicholas. Nicholas, Maya, we need to talk. Don't shut me out. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, temptation and fury warring within her. Then another notification buzzed through, this time from Julian. Julian, made it home safe? Her lips curved into the faintest smile. For the first time in months, she felt a sense of ease in a man's words. She typed back quickly. Yes. Thank you. Good night. But sleep didn't come easily. When she finally drifted off, her dreams were fractured. Nicholas's voice chasing her through shadows, Julian's steady gaze pulling her toward the light, and Evelyn Drake's piercing eyes watching her every step like a predator waiting for its prey. The next morning at Sterling and Company, the air was electric. Maya walked into her office to find an envelope resting on her desk. No sender, no markings. She hesitated before opening it, her pulse quickening. Inside was a single sheet of paper with a message typed in bold letters. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. Her throat went dry. Someone knew. Someone was watching her. She tucked the note into her drawer just as her assistant, Clara Benson, knocked and entered. Clara's normally bright face was pale. Miss Sterling, she said softly. You should know. Mr. Drake was in the lobby this morning asking for you. Security turned him away. Maya's stomach tightened. Nicholas was becoming desperate. His empire was teetering, and with Evelyn pulling strings behind the scenes, his desperation could easily turn dangerous. But Maya wasn't alone anymore. Later that day, Julian stopped by her office, leaning casually against her doorway. You look like someone who hasn't slept, he remarked gently. Because I haven't, she admitted. Then, after a pause, Julian, what if I told you I found something that could destroy Nicholas, and Evelyn too? His expression sobered instantly. Then I tell you to be very careful who you trust. Their eyes locked, the silence between them charged with something unspoken. Fear, hope, maybe even longing. At that moment, Maya realized the war she had stumbled into wasn't just about revenge or justice. It was about survival. And the stakes were rising faster than she ever imagined. Maya Sterling sat at her desk long after her team had left, the city lights spilling into her office like scattered diamonds. The threatening note burned in her mind, as though its words had been seared into her very skin. Stop digging, or you'll regret it. Her instincts told her it wasn't Nicholas who had sent it. This felt different, colder, sharper. It had Evelyn Drake written all over it. The shrill ring of her desk phone cut through the silence. She answered cautiously. Sterling and Company, this is Maya. A low, smooth voice replied. Still working late? Some habits never change. Maya froze. Nicholas. I told you not to contact me, she said firmly, though her grip on the receiver tightened. And I told you this isn't over. Nicholas's tone was laced with venom. You think you're safe in that glass tower? Think again. You built your career with my support, and I can dismantle it just as easily. Maya's anger flared, drowning out her fear. No, Nicholas. I built everything despite you, and you'll learn that soon enough. She slammed the phone down, her heart pounding in her chest. The next evening, Julian Cross insisted on taking her to dinner. They met at a quiet rooftop restaurant overlooking the river. Candlelight flickered between them, and for a brief moment, the chaos of her life felt distant. You don't have to do this alone, Julian said, his hand brushing against hers. She let herself linger in that touch. You don't know how dangerous Nicholas can be. Julian's lips curved into a wry smile. I've dealt with men like him my entire career. The louder they roar, the closer they are to collapse. Maya wanted to believe him. She wanted to let down her guard and just breathe, just feel. But as the evening wore on, she noticed a shadow at the edge of the terrace, a figure that seemed to watch them for too long before slipping away into the night. Back in her apartment, the unease returned. She checked the locks twice, poured herself a glass of water, and tried to push the paranoia aside. But when she entered her bedroom, her blood ran cold. On her pillow sat a single red rose. No card, no note, just the flower, its petals glistening as though freshly cut. Her knees weakened, and she steadied herself against the nightstand. Someone had been inside her home. Someone wanted her to know they could reach her whenever they wanted. The phone buzzed in her hand with a new message. She forced herself to look. Unknown number. Beautiful things don't last forever. Neither will you. Maya's heart pounded as the screen blurred in her trembling grip. This wasn't just a warning anymore. It was a promise. Maya Sterling barely slept that night. Every creak of the floorboards, every whisper of wind against the glass, jolted her awake. The red rose on her pillow had been tossed in the trash, but its presence lingered in her mind like a phantom. Whoever had placed it there wanted her terrified, and it was working. By morning, she forced herself into her usual routine, dressing sharply and heading to Sterling and Company. But as she stepped into the office, whispers fell silent. Dozens of eyes trailed her, not with admiration, but with unease. Clara Benson hurried over, clutching a tablet to her chest. Maya, you should see this. On the screen was a leaked news article. The headline screamed across every finance blog. Sterling and Company. Under fire. Allegations of fraud surface against CEO Maya Sterling. Maya's breath caught. The article detailed accusations of financial misconduct, offshore accounts, and falsified reports. It was fiction, but crafted so well it almost seemed real. She scanned the lines, her pulse racing. The sources were anonymous insiders. Nicholas. Evelyn. Clara whispered, "Do you want me to issue a statement?" Maya shook her head, though her voice was strained. Not yet. If I deny it now, I'll look desperate. This is exactly what they want. She locked herself in her office, her phone buzzing with calls from board members, journalists, and even clients. Each unanswered ring tightened the noose around her reputation. That evening, Julian Cross showed up unannounced. He closed the blinds, his expression grim.
I saw the article, he said.
This is Evelyn's doing. Nicholas doesn't have the brains to orchestrate something this elaborate. Maya leaned back in her chair, exhaustion weighing her down. They're cornering me, Julian. First the threats, then the rose, now this. What's next? Julian's jaw tightened. Next, they'll try to isolate you. Turn everyone against you until you have nowhere left to stand. Her voice cracked, betraying the fear she had fought so hard to suppress. Then what do I do? He stepped closer, his hand brushing against hers in quiet reassurance. You fight smarter. Let them think they're winning while you gather the proof you need. You told me you had something on them. Now's the time to use it. That night, Maya sat alone in her apartment with a glass of untouched wine beside her. The city outside buzzed with life, but she felt trapped in a cage Evelyn had carefully built. She opened her laptop, her fingers trembling as she accessed a hidden folder she had kept locked away for months. Documents, recordings, transactions, evidence that Nicholas had laundered money through Evelyn's shell companies. If she released it, both of them could fall. But the risk was enormous. If she misstepped, they'd destroy her completely. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Evelyn this time, cold and precise. "Evelyn Drake, you're in over your head, darling. Back down, or you'll lose more than your company." Maya stared at the screen, her reflection in the glass looking back at her with equal parts fear and defiance. For the first time, she realized this wasn't just about business. Evelyn wanted to break her spirit, to erase her. And Maya Sterling refused to let that happen. The city was drenched in rain the following morning, streaks of water sliding down Maya Sterling's office windows like veins of silver. The storm outside mirrored the one inside her. Her company was under siege, her name dragged through the mud, and every move she made was watched by enemies who seemed to anticipate her steps. But Maya wasn't the same woman Nicholas Drake had once manipulated. Nor was she the timid protégé Evelyn Drake believed she could intimidate into silence. She had something they didn't: evidence. Proof that could unravel everything they had built in their empire of deceit. She tucked the encrypted flash drive into her jacket pocket, its weight both terrifying and empowering. Tonight, she planned to meet with a trusted investigative journalist, someone Julian Cross had vouched for, to begin leaking the truth. At midday, Julian appeared in her office. His presence was a welcome reprieve, though his eyes were shadowed with concern. "You're making your move tonight?" he asked quietly. Maya nodded, her hand brushing over the pocket where the flash drive rested. "It's time. If I wait any longer, Evelyn will crush me." Julian hesitated before speaking again. "Then you need to know something. Nicholas isn't acting alone anymore. He's unraveling. Evelyn has taken full control. He's desperate, reckless. If you corner him, there's no telling how far he'll go." A chill ran through her. She had expected Evelyn's ruthlessness, but Nicholas's desperation might make him even more dangerous. "Then I'll have to be ready for both," Maya said firmly. That evening, the rain hadn't let up. Maya arrived at the quiet cafe, where the meeting was set. She slipped into a booth at the back, her trench coat dripping onto the floor. Moments later, a woman entered, sharp-eyed, mid-30s, notebook in hand. "Miss Sterling?" the woman asked, sliding into the booth. "Call me Maya," she replied. "And I trust Julian has already filled you in on the basics?" The journalist gave a curt nod.
"Yes.
But I'll need something solid before I risk going to print." Maya placed the flash drive on the table between them. For a moment, it gleamed under the dim cafe lights like a weapon disguised as a simple piece of plastic. "This is everything. Nicholas's money laundering, Evelyn's shell companies, the threats they've made. It's all here." The journalist's fingers hovered above the keyboard when Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced down at the screen, and her blood froze. "A no number. Nice try, Maya. You should really be more careful about whom you trust." Her gaze snapped up to the cafe's windows, where the storm distorted the world outside. A figure lingered across the street, half hidden beneath an umbrella, watching. Maya's heart slammed against her ribs. The walls were closing in. Somehow, Nicholas and Evelyn were always one step ahead. Maya Sterling's hand shook as she locked eyes with the journalist across the table. The flash drive still sat between them, but the message on her phone made it feel like a trap. The journalist frowned. "Maya, what's wrong?" She swallowed hard, slipping the phone into her bag. "Nothing," she lied, forcing her voice steady. "Let's continue." But her instinct screamed at her. Someone knew about this meeting. Someone had orchestrated the warning. The journalist reached for the flash drive, but before she could pocket it, a sudden crash erupted near the entrance. A man stumbled inside, drenched from the rain, pretending to fumble for coins at the counter. But Maya's eyes caught the way his gaze swept the cafe, sharp, deliberate, predatory. Nicholas's men. Maya reacted fast. She slid the flash drive back toward her side of the table. "Not here," she whispered to the journalist. "It's not safe." The woman's brows furrowed, but before she could respond, Julian Cross appeared in the doorway like a guardian cutting through the storm. His eyes scanned the room, landing on Maya instantly. Relief flooded her, but it was short-lived. The man at the counter shifted, reaching inside his coat. "Maya, move." Julian barked. Chaos exploded. Chairs screeched, customers screamed, and Maya ducked as Julian lunged forward, shoving the stranger against the counter before he could draw the weapon concealed beneath his jacket. The journalist grabbed her notebook and scrambled toward the exit, but Maya knew better than to run blindly into the night. She clutched the flash drive tight, her pulse hammering as Julian pinned the man down. "Go, Maya," Julian shouted over the commotion. But even as she bolted toward the back exit, she felt the weight of unseen eyes on her. The rain pounded harder outside, drowning the city in darkness. She knew exactly whose eyes were watching. Evelyn Drake's game was no longer being played from the shadows. It was closing in right here, right now. Rain lashed against Maya Sterling's face as she burst out of the cafe's back exit, clutching the flash drive like it was her lifeline. Her heels splashed through puddles as she sprinted into the narrow alley, her breath sharp and ragged. Behind her, chaos still echoed, Julian shouting, the sound of a struggle, the distant wail of a siren. But none of it mattered. Survival was all she could think about. She rounded a corner and froze. A sleek black car idled at the far end of the alley, its headlights cutting through the sheets of rain. Slowly, deliberately, the passenger window rolled down. And there she was, Evelyn Drake. Her perfectly composed face was framed by the glow of the dashboard. Calm, unflinching, predatory. "Maya." Evelyn's voice carried easily through the storm. "You should know better than to play games with people who write the rules." Maya's grip tightened on the flash drive. "You can't keep hiding behind threats. The truth is going to come out." Evelyn's lips curved into the faintest smile. Truth is a fragile thing. It bends, it twists, and with enough pressure, it breaks. Much like you will. The rear door cracked open, and Maya caught sight of another man stepping out, his silhouette unmistakably one of Evelyn's enforcers. Panic surged, but so did defiance. "You don't scare me anymore," Maya spat, her voice trembling yet fierce. "Nicholas may have broken me once, but I won't let you finish the job." Evelyn's eyes glittered. "Oh, darling, you're not my target. You never were. You're just leverage." Before Maya could process the words, movement flickered behind her. Strong arms seized her, pinning her wrists. The flash drive slipped from her grasp, splashing into the puddled asphalt. She screamed, twisting violently, but then a familiar voice cut through the storm. "Let her go."
"Julian."
Blood on his temple, soaked to the bone, but still standing, fighting. The alley became a standoff, Maya struggling against Evelyn's man, Julian advancing with a desperate fire in his eyes, and Evelyn watching from the car, like a queen amused by the clash of pawns. And in that instant, Maya realized this wasn't the endgame. It was the beginning of a war she hadn't even fully understood yet. The rain turned the alley into a blur of shadows and silver as Maya Sterling fought against the man restraining her. His grip was iron, fingers digging into her wrists, but adrenaline surged through her veins. She kicked hard, her heel connecting with his shin. He grunted, loosening his hold just enough for her to twist free. "Maya!" Julian's voice thundered across the alley as he charged forward. His fist collided with the enforcer's jaw, sending the man staggering backward. Maya stumbled toward Julian, but Evelyn Drake's voice sliced through the storm like a blade. "Enough!" The command was calm, chilling, and it froze the air around them. Evelyn stepped out of the car at last, the hem of her black coat brushing the wet asphalt. She didn't flinch as rain pelted her, her posture regal, untouchable. "You think this ends with a few stolen files?" Evelyn's gaze locked on Maya, burning with disdain. "You're a child playing with matches in a house soaked with gasoline." Julian stood in front of Maya protectively, blood dripping down his face. "Then maybe it's time someone burned your empire to the ground." Evelyn's laugh was soft, humorless. Brave words for a man who doesn't know what he's up against. "Nicholas is finished, yes. He's sloppy, predictable.
But me?
I've built something untouchable. And you, she turned her eyes back to Maya. You're just noise. Maya felt the rage building inside her, fueled by every humiliation, every betrayal. She stepped out from behind Julian, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her ribs. You've underestimated me, Evelyn. That's your mistake. I'm not noise. I'm the storm you never saw coming. Evelyn's smile faded. For the first time, her mask cracked ever so slightly. But then headlights appeared at the mouth of the alley. 2 more black cars pulling up, their engines growling like predators. Doors opened, silhouettes spilling out into the rain. Julian swore under his breath. We're outnumbered. Maya's pulse quickened as the circle tightened around them. Evelyn stood tall, untouched by the chaos, her voice calm as she delivered the words that chilled Maya to her core. This is your last chance, Maya. Hand over what you've stolen, walk away quietly, and maybe, just maybe, I'll let you keep your life. The rain hammered harder, lightning flashing across the sky as Maya and Julian exchanged a glance. There was no backing down now. The war had arrived, and their next move would decide everything. The alley pulsed with tension as rain poured down, drumming against steel and stone like the rhythm of war. Maya Sterling stood shoulder to shoulder with Julian Cross, encircled by Evelyn Drake's men. Evelyn herself remained calm, her eyes glinting with cruel satisfaction. Well, Maya, what will it be? Hand it over, or be buried by it? Maya's gaze flickered to the flash drive lying in a shallow puddle a few feet away, its metallic glint catching the storm's light. That small piece of plastic held the power to destroy Nicholas and Evelyn, but also the power to destroy her if it fell into the wrong hands. Julian leaned closer, his voice low but fierce. Don't give it to her. Whatever happens, we hold the line. Maya's heart hammered. She bent slowly, as if in surrender, her fingers reaching for the drive. Evelyn's men tensed, ready to strike. Then, Maya straightened abruptly, clutching it to her chest. No, she said, her voice ringing against the storm. You've taken everything from me once. Never again. The words ignited the moment like a spark. The first of Evelyn's men lunged, but Julian intercepted, his fists flying. Chaos erupted in the alley, grunts, shouts, the clash of bodies. Maya ducked, weaving through the melee, adrenaline flooding her veins. She clutched the drive tighter, desperate to escape. Evelyn remained still, a dark figure in the rain, watching as if she'd already won. Her voice cut through the chaos. You can run, Maya. But where will you hide? I own the city, the courts, the press. And soon, she stepped forward, her face inches from Maya's, her whisper cold and certain. I'll own you too. Lightning split the sky, illuminating Evelyn's face, calm, merciless, certain of victory. Maya didn't answer. Instead, she bolted through a gap Julian had cleared, sprinting into the storm with the flash drive clenched in her hand. Behind her, Evelyn's men gave chase, but the night swallowed her up. She didn't know where the road would lead, or if Julian would even survive the battle raging in that alley. All she knew was that the war wasn't over. It was only just beginning. Because as long as she held the truth in her hand, Evelyn Drake's empire had a crack. And one day soon, Maya Sterling would shatter it.